On a peaceful afternoon in a quiet neighborhood of Medellin, Alejandro Martinez walked slowly, a knot in his chest. His mind was filled with worries as he headed to the animal shelter, hoping to find a ray of hope on this special day. It was his son Samuel's first birthday, and Alejandro wanted to give him something meaningful. However, life had taken an unexpected turn since Samuel's birth. The boy had been born with a spinal injury that left him unable to move his legs. This had deeply affected Alejandro's wife, Carolina, plunging her into a sadness that seemed insurmountable. As Alejandro entered the shelter, a volunteer greeted him with a warm smile. "Welcome. How can I help you?" she asked. Alejandro took a deep breath and replied, "I'm looking for a dog. Something small and good with kids." Walking through the rows of kennels, his eyes met those of a small terrier with pointed ears and a curious gaze. "That one," Alejandro said, pointing to the puppy. "What's his story?" The volunteer explained that the dog had arrived a few weeks ago and was sweet and playful. Alejandro felt an immediate connection and decided to adopt him. After filling out the paperwork and paying the fee, he headed home with the puppy in the back seat, though doubts clouded his mind. How would Samuel and Carolina react? When Alejandro arrived home, Carolina greeted him with a mix of surprise and fatigue. "Seriously, Alejandro? Now I have to take care of a dog too?" she said, crossing her arms. Alejandro tried to reassure her. "You won't have to worry. Mrs. Marta, our neighbor, will help us with the dog in the mornings, and I'll take care of him in the evenings." Finally, Carolina reluctantly agreed, warning him, "If he becomes a problem, he's out." That evening, Alejandro took the puppy, whom he had decided to name Lucas, to Samuel's room. The little boy, lying in his crib playing with a stuffed animal, lit up when he saw the dog. "Look, son," Alejandro said excitedly. "This is Lucas, your new friend." Lucas, wagging his tail energetically, cautiously approached Samuel, who laughed as the dog licked his tiny hands. Carolina watched from the doorway, and for the first time in months, a faint smile crossed her face. Over time, Lucas became the heart of the family. Samuel, who had once been quiet, now laughed constantly while playing with the puppy. One evening, as she watched Samuel and Lucas interact, Carolina remarked, "Lucas has done more for Samuel than any therapy could." Alejandro took her hand and said, "You're doing a lot too. We're in this together." Carolina sighed and nodded. One morning, Carolina placed Samuel on a mat and encouraged Lucas to play with him. To her surprise, Samuel managed to move his arms slightly forward. When Alejandro came home that night, Carolina enthusiastically recounted the day's events. He hugged her tightly and said, "This little guy is changing our lives." Months passed, and with Lucas in therapy, Samuel began to develop more strength in his arms, making small but significant strides. One afternoon, while trying to reach a toy, Samuel crawled forward a few centimeters on his own, bringing tears of joy to Carolina's eyes. That night, they celebrated with a family dinner, grateful for every little milestone and for Lucas's impact on their lives. On a sunny Sunday, they decided to take Lucas and Samuel to the park. Under the shade of a tree, Samuel watched with fascination as Lucas chased leaves blown by the wind. A mother approached Carolina and asked about Lucas. Carolina shared how the dog had transformed her family's life. That conversation helped Carolina feel more connected to the outside world, something she hadn't experienced in a long time. When they returned home, Samuel was exhausted but happy. Alejandro, seeing the joy on their faces, suggested going out as a family more often. One Saturday, they visited Medellin's Central Park. Alejandro and Carolina pushed Samuel in his stroller, while Lucas trotted energetically by their side. At the park, they placed Samuel on the grass. To their astonishment, the little boy began to crawl slowly toward Lucas. "You're doing it, Samuel," Carolina and Alejandro exclaimed, tears streaming down their faces. Samuel reached Lucas, taking the ball from his paws and laughing joyfully. The entire park seemed to pause to witness this small miracle. Back at home, the family was overwhelmed with hope and joy. That night, as Samuel slept soundly, Alejandro turned to Carolina and said, "Thank you for not giving up. We're a team." Carolina smiled and replied, "And Lucas is part of that team too." Every day, the family found new reasons to be grateful for Lucas. His playful antics and loyal presence filled their home with love. Alejandro and Carolina realized that miracles don't always arrive as expected. They often come in the form of a rescued dog. Lucas wasn't just a companion for Samuel. He had helped heal Carolina's emotional wounds and strengthen the family's bond. The Martinez family discovered that happiness lies in shared moments, like a park outing or Samuel's laughter with Lucas. And so, day by day, the Martinez family found in Lucas not just a dog, but a symbol of hope, love, and resilience, reminding us that even in the darkest times, there is always light.